Greetings and welcome to episode 177 of the Words About Gamescast, the weekly video game podcast for Words About Games. I'm your host, Amy Alexander. I'm joined this week by Keith Robinson.
YOLO!
YOLO! Why YOLO? I've been meaning to ask this before I ask you how you are.
Yeah.
Why YOLO?
Because I've played Dead Cells today, and I saw something scream that as I knocked it off a
As
ledge.
it falls off the ledge. Yeah, I've seen that one before as well.
It's like,
Okay.
okay, I mean,
Sure.
I kind of think you're an undead creature, so not sure how that applies.
I mean, it's not even YOLO. You what?
You only unlive once? I mean,
You, Yulo. Yulo.
it wouldn't even be that. It would be no L, because unlive is one word, isn't it?
Yeah, but you can take creative licenses
Whoa!
with. You can take creative license with acronyms sometimes. Yulo. Oh, Yuo. Yu-Gi-Oh. Uno.
Gotta catch 'em all!
Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't actually know the theme tune to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Where's Russ when you need him? Because I bet he wouldn't know. He used to have the cards. I'm sure he must have watched the anime at some point. He's watched every anime.
No, he had the card.
Yeah, do you not remember he showed us them once? He was like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I think he was trying to unlock and get us into it because it was when we were struggling to enjoy Magic the Gathering. And I'm pretty sure he was trying to
I know some of our games in Commander got at the 1,000-point life totals, but I haven't played it. I haven't seen it played at college. I knew that Yu-Gi-Oh kind of started out like that, and I do not have that sort of.
That's fair.
Like the Dragon Ball Z RPG. It's like, oh yeah, your punches and kicks do like 100 points of damage. Wait, what?
Roll 30 dice.
Yeah. No one had ever play tested that version. I'm sure there must be no.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I got the epic level handbook out just to figure out what the average roll of a punch was.
Yeah. How are you?
I live. I breathe in and out, as I heard my brother tell my mother.
Man, runs in the family.
And I breathe out.
Runs in the family, man, I swear. You too.
He brought me a present as well.
It's a stick.
It's a bit of dowel, and it is going to be a magic staff for the giant treeman I've got sitting on here.
Okay, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Very crafty of you. And not in your usual DM way. Like, literally crafty. Crafting. I was playing Code Vein this morning.
Oh. Did you like the anime vampire game?
Well, I've only played a few hours so far. Like, it's not like all the games I've been playing recently. Like when I'm doing because I do impressions, not reviews, so I don't play full games. I mean, I do. I've finished a bunch of games. We talked about it last week, but like all the games I've been playing, it's like I play like 2-3 hours, and it's like I understand this game completely. Do an impressions video, and then I'm playing Code Vein. It's like I've played 3 hours, which is what I've played of like the Sojourn and Goose Game and Overland, and it's like I don't understand shit about this game. I can play so much more of it, but I'm enjoying it. I have notes, and it's.
I mean, you know, a game I've been playing recently.
Yeah, it's not. It's not the best. It's not going to be like end of the year, like top 5, top 10 game of the year, like type thing. But it's giving me what I need. Like especially after Sekiro, like was really disappointing. Like because it's a game I can approach in my own way.
Did you hear that?
I heard it when I did put my video out.
Yeah, it was almost as if 1,000 geeks like added you to a list.
Look right.
And realized you were already on it.
Look right. Yeah, it's like I'm on it twice now. Great, thanks guys. Look right. Sekiro. My problems with Sekiro were it wants you to play in one specific way. There's a hair on top of my microphone. It's really annoying me. It wants you to play in one specific way, and if you don't like playing that way, tough shit. Right, cool. Well, tough shit. I bounced. Whereas you get Code Vein, and it's like, it's Dark Souls-ish, but like, it gives you all the different weapons, and it gives you different classes, And it's like, cool, like, I've got different classes. That would have been enough. But then it's like, you get other classes that you unlock as the game goes on. And you can spend your souls, to not just level up, but, like, you can unlock, like, different abilities in that class. So you can level them up without having the class equipped to, like, master them and then learn them. So, like, I'm playing fighter, but there's a shadow attack ability in a different class that I have because I've just bought it and I've equipped it. Like, that's all I'm asking for. Like, just the ability to play the game in my way. I haven't blocked or parried once in Code Vein, and I've only died once. Like, because as it turns out, I suck at blocking and parrying. But you ask me to dodge, you ask me to get the fuck out of the way. Oh, I'll get the fuck out of the way. And then some. Except the one death I got. I got smashed into the ground by a hammer like 3 times the size of my own character. And then I got the hammer. Like as a reward for killing the boss. And it's not
shrink.
It's not as big. But then my character's like teeny. I mean, don't get me wrong, the weapons are oversized, but because it's fucking Japanese RPG. Yeah. But it's like, yeah, it's not the greatest game, but I needed a Souls-like game to like say dodging. It's okay, dodging's fine. Like, you can dodge. Oh, you don't want to use a sword? That's fine. Here's a spear. And just like, here's a gun. The bayonet's the funniest one. The bayonet, which if you do a light attack, you just stab people with the bayonet. If you do the heavy attack, you shoot. Like, the woman in the tutorial gave me a gun, and I was like, oh, cool, a gun. And then I just went, attack. Oh, why did he shoot someone? The character creator is ridiculous. Fuck, have you seen it?
No.
Holy crap. It's better. It might be the most in-depth character creator I've ever seen. Like, think of like the most customizable character creator you can think of in a game.
Like Dragon Age, BioWare stuff.
It blows that shit like way out of the water. It's crazy. I'm gonna put like a footage of it in my review, but I'll show you a video of it. It's in fact, you'll be able to find it. People will be talking about it. Like, it's nuts. It's insane. You like accessories, like, you know how normally in a character creator it's like you have a head accessory, an eye accessory. No, you just have accessory slots and you can just put whatever the fuck you want on. But like, there's a point buy system. Like, it's so in depth. I was not anticipating it. For anyone that doesn't know what the words about Gamescast is, like Keith over there behind me, because for some reason it looks like I'm pointing behind him. I'm not pointing that way. There you go. Yeah. That way. We discuss 5 stories centered around what's been going on in gaming, the games industry, and gaming culture over the past 7 days before we leave you with a list of games that are coming out over the course of the next week. This week we discussed the disappearance of Frogwares games published by Focus Home Interactive, last week's State of Play reveals, the new controversy engulfing this year's Call of Duty, a major problem with how developers are paid for their Google Play Pass games, and how much Epic Games paid for Control's PC exclusivity. As always, there are timestamps in the description below the video on YouTube. If you want to skip stories, if you want to watch this podcast in a completely different order. If you want to watch it backwards, however you want to do it, we got you. Should we dive in?
Yep.
Geronimo. Number 1. Frogwares claims Focus Home Interactive is delisting its games without approval. This is from Fraser Brown over at PC Gamer. He writes, Frogwares, creators of The Sinking City and myriad Sherlock Holmes adventure games, is having some trouble with one of its former publishers, Focus Home Interactive. A license agreement between the pair has ended, and it looks like that means several of the studio's games will be removed from Steam and other stores against Frogware's wishes. In a statement sent to I wasn't laughing at the statement, just the thing flashed up that an anonymous leopard was in my Google Doc. In a statement sent to PC Gamer and available on the official blog, Frogwares claims that its former publisher won't transfer title IDs to the studio despite it being the IP owner. Focus can't continue to sell the games, however, so that means they'll vanish. Frogwares is making new store profiles, but that might not be possible in the case of older games on the previous generation of consoles. Last week, Focus told the developer that it would not be able to transfer content or title IDs because of a new policy that had been put in place. Frogwares was apparently unaware of the policy and claims that it never appeared in any other contracts. 2 Sherlock Holmes games and Mag Runner Dark Pulse have already been removed on PS3 and Xbox 360, though the PC versions are published by Frogwares already and are thus safe. Unfortunately, that doesn't include the excellent Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments, which is due to disappear from Steam and consoles on September 29th, which is today, or yesterday. Yes. Quote, "It is possible that it will be taken down at this date or earlier if nothing is done," says Frogwares. "The players will no longer be able to buy and play the game. We will also lose all our wish lists on these store pages. As the creators and IP owners of all those games, we have no control and no say in this. The decision of Focus Home left us voiceless." End quote. According to the developer, the new policy is a threat to other contracted developers and that it hasn't encountered anything like it before. PC Gamer reached out to Focus Home Interactive to find out more details about the policy, but they've yet to respond. Shocking, not one. Keith, you actually brought this up to me the other day, so what?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
I read it. It's like, what? I don't really understand it, and we've said before in this that I'm not an expert on contract or the legal system in general, but it's kind of like, they had a contract with someone to publish their games.
Yes.
Which in this case meant going to the Valve or Xbox and going, "Hey, we want to put this game out for you."
Yeah.
And with Valve, it's just like, "Oh, here's the digital version of these games." And then after that contract has expired, they've just got, "Well, that's it for that game," and the owners of the game will, "No, we want to still have the game available," and they've gone, "Well, tough luck, because we're not going to let you."
See ya.
I don't understand that. I don't understand how they can just go, "Well, no, surely the people who created it still have the rights and can go to another publisher after the first."
Well, if they own the IPs,
yeah.
like, it's the reason why Remedy can do stuff with Alan Wake, but can't do stuff with Quantum Break or Max Payne because they don't own the IPs. But Frogwares own, like, according to this blog post, is really weird. Like, it is a really weird situation. So, like, Frogwares makes the Sherlock Holmes games, and they need a publisher. So they go and they sign a contract with Focus Home Interactive, and they get to keep Frogwares gets to keep control of the IPs, and Focus Home publishes the games.
Mm-hmm.
That's not uncommon, at all in like indie game development for like a deal like this to be struck. And then the licensing agreement is expired because the last game that Frogwares made, which was The Sinking City, was published by Big Ben Interactive. So obviously their licensing agreement with Focus Home it was done. Like, it was done. So they've gone somewhere else. And then that should mean that the IPs transferred back across to Frogwares because they own the IP. Again, in a similar situation, Remedy buying back the rights to Alan Wake means that they get to do what they want with Alan Wake. Frogwares should then be able to do what they want with the Sherlock Holmes games, like that were published by Focus Home. But that's not the case here because, because of
the policy change.
A new policy that had been put in place. We'll not be able to transfer content or title IDs because of a new policy that had been put in place. So Focus Home don't have the right to publish the games and essentially make money off of the games, because like that's what was happening beforehand, and because of a new policy that was put in place, the rights don't transfer back to Frogwares, which means they're in no man's land. Like they're in between. Like, so no one can do anything with them. So the games disappear like quite naturally. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get your thing. I just want to break it down for.
A written contract should trump a policy written after it.
Like, I don't know what the legal standing is of a policy like this, because if it's in the contract that Frogware signed to put for Focus on to publish the Sherlock Holmes games and Magrunner and whatever other games that are affected by this, then it sucks, but fair enough. Like, because it was in the contract, but it doesn't sound like it was in the contract.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, how do you get away with that? Like, is it because Focus Home has way more money and can outlawyer, like the scene in The Simpsons, where Homer Simpson marches into Mr. Burns' office with Lionel Hutz, and then Mr. Burns pushes the button and the 10 lawyers come out.
Yeah, the wall comes up and there's 10 lawyers sitting in a break room.
And Lionel Hutz runs away screaming. Like, is that what happens? Like, I mean, obviously...
policy as opposed to regulation and law, like just the names of them like imply that it seems really weird, and I can definitely understand the developers annoyance and stuff, but they were saying that though in one of their posts, it's like that they were going to try and put up some of the other things, but like the ones for the 360 games and stuff, it just would be too expensive to like relist games and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, you got to think how many people like buying a game on Xbox 360, like at this point in 2019.
Yeah, even for backwards compatibility and stuff, it's like, would it?
It depends if the games are backwards compatible.
It struck me as so odd, because I'm not saying the publisher is breaking law or anything, but the way the developer is talking is like they were expecting, like as soon as the contract was up, that the IP would go back to them. And that there's nothing in the contract which says that it shouldn't.
Well, we've seen.
And I'm just wondering if there's just what on earth is going on with the publisher that it's not done that, and they haven't said anything. They haven't said anything like, well, there's nothing which says in the contract that the IP does transfer back, and it's the policy now that if it's not specifically written, it doesn't happen. All we've heard is the developer's side, which is we should have got the IP back, and we haven't. And it's something to do with a new policy that we've never heard of.
Yeah, and obviously, like, to compound that, or to, like, add to that, like, Frogwares is completely correct in that, like, this doesn't necessarily just affect Frogwares. Like, any developer that works with Focus Home Interactive, like, in the future might find themselves in this exact same situation. Like, with IPs that they're supposed to own. So, like, Focus Home published Greedfall very recently. Plague Tale Innocence is another game that they published this year. Like, they're synonymous with so many games. Like, Focus Home Interactive actually publish a lot of games. Like, it's disappointing. On a personal note, it's incredibly disappointing because I like Focus Home Interactive. Like, they publish so many cool games. Like, they're not quite indie games. They're not AAA games. They're that space in the middle where we get games like a Plague Tale Innocence. Like, and I was like, yay, these guys are cool. And apparently, no, they're not. Like, like, because this isn't cool. This is not cool. Like, what's happening here? Like, this is Konami pulling PT from the PlayStation Store because there's no reason for them to do this. Like,
well, I'm sure that Focus Home has some reason that this is happening. It's just so far all we've heard is that this is like a policy thing, and they haven't given an official statement yet.
Spite? Like, I don't get it. Like, so they lost the developer. Will be the first step. Frogwares went off to do stuff with another publisher, and maybe they got a better deal. Maybe Focus Home didn't want to publish The Sinking City, so they found someone who did. It happens all the time. That's how we got Sunset Overdrive on Xbox like years ago. Like, that's step one, and then step two is, well, the licensing agreements run out, so Frogwares would republish the games on the relevant storefronts as the publisher themselves. Like, or they could take it to their current partner or a different partner. And in that scenario, Focus Home Interactive isn't going to make money off of the game anymore because they're not the publisher. And in this scenario, they're not going to make any money off of the game either. But it's a case of, it just sounds like it's a case of, well, if we can't make money off of this game, nobody can.
I wouldn't go that far because they haven't actually been told what the policy is yet. We just know that it's policy that this doesn't happen, but we have no idea what the policy is. So I don't want to slap allegedly on all that because you did that yourself. It's just me saying like, without actually even being told what the policy is that is preventing them from doing this. It just leaves us in a very grey area where, a lot of people are just going to assume the worst of the publisher.
I mean, let's be fair, it's not.
The publisher's not telling us anything and hoping the story goes away, maybe?
Who knows? Like, it's been kicking around. This isn't something that just broke. Like, recently. This has been floating around for days now. Like, the problem with... It's the problem with the games industry, like, in general. It's like, it's... Assume the worst, because, like, a lot of the time, like, when it comes to publishers, like, a lot of the time, the worst is the truth. The worst isn't even the whole truth. Like, the worst that you're assuming isn't even the full story.
Oh, it's not as bad as you think, it's worse, is what
it's not saying. As bad as you think, it's worse. Like...
I mean, hopefully this will all work out for...
See every other podcast for the last, like, year and a half. It's not as bad as you think, it's worse.
You just, like, it's like when you're back at university, like, with the quotation thing, you just list everything in the bibliography all about other podcasts.
Yeah. Riot Games, Rockstar
Hall of Fame, Hall of Game. I mean, that's a positive podcast.
It's even in friendly debates. Like, what the hell? I don't know. We'll see. I give Focus Home the benefit of the doubt for a little bit, for a little while. Let's see what they say. But if they say nothing, it's like...
Yeah.
Let's move on and talk about someone who is saying something. Number 2. Keith, there was a state of play last week.
Apparently. Oh, yes, we were recording Hall of Fame, Hall of Game.
We were. We got exactly what I expected we were going to get out of it. Anyone who is expecting a Batman game announcement in a random state of play on a random Tuesday in September is on something, and I want some. Because it must be fun.
Was it Batman Day, like, around that time?
It was. They put the tweet out. So, like, we'll talk. It's not part of State of Play. We'll talk about it. They put the tweet out. Yeah. It was celebrating Batman Day. It was the Batting. Like, had all the different things, and it was WB Montreal who made Batman Arkham Origins. And he's obviously been making something. Because that's what game developers do. They make games. And literally everybody was like, whoa, State of Play, whoa. And it's like, no. They're not going to reveal a Batman game at State of Play. The Game Awards? Sure. State of Play? Nah. That would be like someone revealing a game, like a AAA publisher revealing a game at EGX. Like, that's never going to happen.
Until it happens.
The biggest game that I've ever remember being revealed was Total War. There was a Total War game, and it was really weird. So Creative Assembly had a tangent. Creative Assembly had a talk scheduled for the first day of EGX, and they had this super conspicuous booth set up. Mm-hmm. And all they'd done is they'd basically got a massive black tarp covered the thing, so you couldn't see what it was for. And then, like, they did their thing. The only reason I remember they were doing a talk was because I went to the one after it, which was Alien Isolation. That's how long ago this was. Yeah. And, like, literally, like, after the talk, 2 dudes just came out and just fucking pulled, like, tarp away. Like, it was stuck down and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just took the tarp off, and it was like Total War something. I don't remember which one it was. Like I say, this was the year before Alien came out. I think it might be the first one we ever went to. When me and Ross played War Thunder in VR. But anyway, State of Play. Some stuff happened. It It wasn't devoid of information like the Inside Xbox thing. That happened immediately after, and nothing of note occurred. Apart from like sign-ups for the beta for Project xCloud in October, which I've signed up for because why the fuck not? You get play free games. That's how you do it, Google. But anyway, Last of Us Part 2 was the big headline of State of Play. It's coming out in February. So they say. February 21st. We got a new trailer with a release date at the end of it. If it comes out in February, I will eat one of those magic card boxes. Because we've been down this road before with Naughty Dog games. Keith's not wanting to add to that. Did you watch any of this? Any of the State of Play at all? Like anything that came out of it?
I have not watched the State of Play now.
Well, I didn't know you. I know you, right?
Yeah.
I know you weren't going to sit down for half an hour and watch the State of Play from start to finish. That's fine. I get that.
I've seen a couple of trailers for The Last of Us, and I did actually look at some of this like story things.
Yeah, because there was a big gameplay breakout afterwards. I'll be honest, I avoided that because I don't want to know.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't play the first game, so I felt okay. Like
I'm not bothered. It's one of those things where it's like there's a certain point in a game's hype cycle where I will just switch off from everything that's coming up because like I've seen enough. Like No Man's Sky, I remember just switching off from everything that was happening around that like a year before it came out. Because I was like, I've seen enough. I just need to play the game now. But yeah, I watched the trailer for this because I sat down and watched the entire State of Play after we finished recording Hall of Fame, and it was fine. Like what was really disappointing was so last year at E3, the last time Sony were at E3, and there was the big trailer, the fucking awesome trailer with the dance, the one we both watched it because obviously it was E3. The dance hall and they're dancing, and then it cuts to they do the kiss and she has the PTSD flashback, where it's just like she murders everybody. Yeah, and then in the new trailer, it's like that other character that Ellie's kissing, like she's probably dead. Like, like Ellie, it seems like Ellie's motivation for going on a murder rampage is she's been killed violently and brutally, and it's just like, God, fucking come on, man. Like, I know it's a fucking cliche at this point, like to kill the gay characters, but she didn't even make it to the main game. like, come on.
I mean, I have basic knowledge of I was going to say Left 4 Dead there, which isn't right.
Yeah. It's not inaccurate.
I mean, I have more than basic knowledge of that, but of The Last of Us. And I seem to remember that there was another kid character in that game, which was like a bonus or something, but you see her at the end. Yeah, and it's heavily implied that those two characters were like in love, like indicating that was like the main character. So it's like, this goes. So it's not bring out your gays, like, or like bury your gays trope.
Well, it is because she's also
killing
dead.
off all the gay characters.
Like the other kid is also dead. Like,
I knew that. Spoiler.
It's a what 7-year-old game at this point.
Yeah. And I'm just like the fact it's happened like a second time, and it's like it's like at that point it's like, given that the main character is like gay, it's like it's not like bury your gay so much as sort of we need a motivation for this. Oh, she could have like this, and then like that's the motivation.
We need you know what? We need a motivation for this murder rampage. You can just see Neil Druckmann sitting in the meeting room, and he's just staring intently at the refrigerator. You can just see through the crack in the door. I've got an idea. Like, I'm looking forward to The Last of Us Part 2. Like, I loved The Last of Us. Like, this doesn't dampen my excitement for the game. It's just one of those things where I was watching the trailer and I was just like, I said it. I'm pretty sure I either said it to you afterwards the next day or after the trailer, where it was like, I'm afraid that this other character, is gonna die, like is gonna be fridged, like so that like for Ellie's journey, and then it's just like we get this trailer like a year later, and it's like, why, why? I get it. Nothing good happens to anyone in The Last of Us, but still.
I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, did Ellie ever get revenge for the guy in the original Last of Us? Because if not, that could have been the motivation. But no.
Like, the way The Last of Us' story ends is like, it's very strange in the way that it ends. Like, it's cool. It's a really cool ending. And like there is a way that like it picks up Ellie and Joel's story. And obviously the theory was that he's dead in The Last of Us Part 2. But it's like, Joel was in the trailer, so whether he's a figment of Ellie's collapsing mental state or is actually there, like, remains to be seen. Like I am still looking forward to the game. I feel like I need to emphasize that, but it is just like, that was so fucking annoying when I was watching it, and I was just like, could you at least just let her survive to the game? Like, don't put it in the trailer, at least. Like, let me have hope for another few months. You know, when it comes out in February. When every other game in the world comes out. There's a Death Stranding Special Edition PS4 with literally a P-color controller. Patrick mentioned it after we'd finished recording Hall of Fame. It was the one thing he said before I was like, I don't want to hear anything because I'm going to watch it. And I was like, I thought he was exaggerating. And then I was watching the State of Play, and I was like, no, that is definitely... That is the most accurate way to describe the colour of the controller. Like,
that's so Kojima.
That is pea-coloured. Like, it's really leaning into the peeing mechanic. Like, that he's put in his game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because... Okay. I don't even know if I want to drop 50 quid on the game. Never mind buy a friggin' PS4 Pro with a terrible... Like, I just bought my purple controller.
Yeah.
I don't want a pea-color controller. God. Fucking Kojima, man. This game is either going to be Game of the Year, or it's just going to be like...
I'm thinking it's going to be too arty for a lot of people.
I mean, just for me, I think. Have I ever done an arty game as Game of the Year? I know a lot of arty games have been up there for me, but I don't think I've ever had a number one game of the year. Tearaway was probably the closest when I did that. That was a cool game.
Not Unraveled.
Unravel was cool. I don't know if that was arty. That was just a platformer. Tearaway was cool on the Vita because like the back panels and stuff. So like literally. Like, there was a game mechanic in that game because the whole game world's made of papercraft, and you are the face in the sun that the character is trying to get to deliver a message. Like, so it uses the camera on the front-facing camera, so when the character sees the sun, there's literally your face in there, which is great when you're playing a game on the bus. And literally, like, there's a gameplay mechanic where it's like you can use the rear touchpad to poke your finger into the world to, like, move stuff around. That game was cool. Civ 6 is coming out on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting development.
I think it's coming out on Xbox as well.
Probably
that obviously
this is a state of play.
play.
Like, it just said PS4. A 4X game on console.
Yeah. I'll stick with the PC version. I mean, I haven't played it in ages, but yeah.
I'll stick with it. Tempted to get it, not because I've got a PC. It's where you play 4X games with a mouse. Like, even when I was dissing mouse and keyboard in our friendly debates episode, it was like, I'll give you strategy games. Like, I'm all better with a mouse and keyboard, objectively. But I am curious to see how it translates to a PS4 controller. Clunkily, I'm going to imagine, is the answer to that question. Both the expansions are coming to PS4, but they're sold separately. Like, yeah. Civ 6, remind me, it came out in 2016?
If you bear one second, I'll be able to find out a lot more details about it because I'll just go and click on it in my Steam library.
I just want another release
And
date.
Might
even be early. It came out
21st of October, 2016.
All right, it was 2016. It came out the same year as Gears 4, because we did a whole podcast where we reviewed a bunch of games. And I think it was those two.
Yeah.
And Let It Die. God, that was a crazy game. Yeah, like surely we're in Game of the Year territory, where it's like you just get everything bundled together for like the price of the full game. Like, but apparently not.
Like 8 pieces of DLC for it on the
2 expansions that are coming. I wrote them down. No, I didn't.
Yeah,
It just says double pack.
Yeah. Gather and Storm and Rise and 4.
Yeah.
The Gather and Storm, I don't think that came out in like what's February this year.
Gather and Storm was fairly recent because I remember.
Yeah, February this year.
From thing, it's not the expansion that I'm saying is old. It's the game I'm saying is old. Like,
yeah.
I think it's a bit shitty that you have to spend like full price for the base game, and then like most of the publishers who aren't 2K games would have just bundled the whole thing and said you get the complete edition.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the people who built a specific launcher that opens up from Steam no matter which Civ game you put in, and it just basically comes up with adverts.
Yeah, I remember you describing it to me one time.
I'm very interested in buying the DLCs and stuff. I
don't know. I think Civ 5 was like lightning in a bottle for me. Like, because I tried Civ 6 when we had Steam share set up, and I was like, nah, like just nah. Like I latched onto Civ 5 so much, and then Civ 6 just didn't grab me in the same way.
I mean, Civ 5, I did put in the Hall of Fame as opposed to Civ 6.
You did. And I put in Titanfall too.
Yeah.
There were a couple of indie games. There were a few indie games. There were a lot of VR games. We're not going to do a whole rundown of like everything that happened. There were a couple of indie games. Arise, A Simple Story looked kind of cool. Like, again, this was like a Nintendo Direct style thing. So like the trailers were short and sweet. There were no deep dives. And that just looks like a cool adventure game. We play as a dude with a beard. It looks gorgeous. Like, and like if you're gonna do a short trailer, like there's 2 ways to really grab my attention. 1, emotions. 2, art style. Like, and Arise, or 3, be really weird. Shout out Untitled Goose Game. Like, and Arise had it with the art style. I was like, I'm gonna remember you because you look fucking beautiful. And on the quirky, weird end of the scale, another game got revealed called Humanity, which, 1, is a terrible name for a game if you're trying to search for it on Google.
Yeah.
Because all you find is Cards Against Humanity. And yeah, so I have no idea what this game is. The trailer was like 2 massive groups of humans and they just crash into one another. And then it was like all these different scenarios where like you're on top of a tower and there's like a humans like in the middle of the tower with guns and everybody's climbing up and they're just shooting them, and like it's so weird that like I stood up and took notice. And then I thought, you know what? I need to find out what this game actually is. And then I read the PlayStation blog entry. And I'm like, I still don't know what it is. So it was written by Yugo Nakamura. He was the founder of the developer making the game. And it says, I began to imagine a human behavior simulation, something these transcendental beings would create after observing and interpreting us. I couldn't stop thinking about it until finally, one day, 3 years ago, I started actually creating it along with others at my company. In the beginning, nothing was set in stone. We had no idea where this would lead or how it would turn out, but there was one thing we were sure of. The title was going to be Humanity. If you think creating a group simulation that's fun to play, as designed by something or someone not human, sounds like a crazy idea. I agree. I am no transcendental being. I'm just another guy drowning in human society. I can only try to imagine what it would be like. It's not been an easy process, to say the least. But we kept on developing the idea, hoping to end up with something that, if these otherworldly beings were ever to see it, they'd think, yep, you nailed it, or, ah yes, so this is what human beings are like.
Can you imagine getting an intern from your office and going, okay, we're going to stick you on the humanity project. Now, the first thing you've got to do is leave behind your said humanity and become a fifth dimensional being outside of our normal human perception. Wait, what?
I've only been working here for 2 days.
It's like the chemical simulist? No, you must do it purely by your own mental capability.
I mean, is it wrong? Hold on. Yeah. Is it wrong that I read that and I just go, yeah, I'm sold? Like, yeah, I'm sold. I want to play this game. Because I don't know what the fuck it is, but it doesn't sound like the creator knows either.
Yeah.
And that intrigues me.
I had these fever dreams, and I needed to get them out of me. The only way to exercise it from me was to bring it into the world.
Just like, have you ever thought, like, did you ever think that you would you would read a description of a game as written by the creator, and it would be like, now, I'm no transcendental being. I'm just a guy drowning in humanity.
That makes me wonder.
Excuse me. Jesus. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I read that like 20 minutes before we started recording. Space Channel 5, the new Space Channel 5 VR game is called Space Channel 5 Kinda Funky Newsflash, and I have nothing to say about the game other than I really like the title.
Fair enough.
And there was a Call of Duty Modern Warfare story trailer, which was certainly a trailer for a Call of Duty story mode.
Yeah.
I don't. You know, we've been. This has been the conversation on and off because of the way that they're approaching Modern Warfare. Like, I don't trust them to handle to handle the nature of the story that they're trying to tell in a way that isn't just COD explosions trying to shock people. Like, in the story trailer, it looks like it's about someone stolen some chemical weapons, and you have to try and stop them from being terrorists. And there's a moment in the trailer where it looks like there's a chemical weapon explosion in London, and I'm just like, this is you're doing it again. Like, you're not trying to tell a grounded, gritty, realistic story. You're just trying to recapture no Russian. Like,
yeah.
That's not like.
I think they peaked at the betrayal scene in Modern Warfare. Was it two? One, it was like the one with Ghost, the guy with the body.
Oh yeah, Modern Warfare 2, where it turns out the general is the bad guy, and then the last level is kind of like, hey, this is a James Bond movie now. What? Yeah, I don't know, man. That's not the only thing people don't know about as far as Call of Duty is concerned, because I put this at the end because it leads as a nice segue into the next news story. Number 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare courting yet more controversy. So there's 3 parts to this story. I'm not going to read the full news story for the first one because it's very, very easy to summarize. Basically, Colin Stevens over at IGN wrote a news post. I've copy and pasted it. I'm just going to highlight it. Talk about the highlights, which was during the State of Play trailer, at the end of the State of Play trailer, there was a thing that came up because they were talking about the special ops mode, which is, if it's anything like Modern Warfare 2's special ops mode, it's fucking awesome. That was. Me and Russ played that religiously, like probably just as much as we played the actual comparative multiplayer. But then the text came up at the end, which said, Special Ops Survival Mode, play first on PS4. And that's enough to get, like, your back up. In smaller text underneath that, It said timed exclusive content until October 1st, 2020. So Spec Ops Survival Mode will be basically exclusive on PS4 until the next Call of Duty comes out.
Yeah. Which is basically as much as saying, yeah, you're not going to play this.
It's not coming to Xbox and PC. Like,
yeah.
Whew, it didn't go down well.
We all know how much Call of Duty likes to keep people playing their older games.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on an entire mode of the game being platform exclusive? Because we've seen content and DLC and maps and strikes in Destiny being exclusive.
It's a natural evolution of what's been going on, I imagine, but I don't like it. Personally, it's not a game I would play. Modern Warfare, like any Call of Duty game, really.
Yeah,
not a game I'm interested in playing, but I know it's a very popular game series, and I can imagine everyone who doesn't use PlayStation as their primary game platform being really annoyed, especially PC players who have normally been exempt, really, from these sort of console wars, and suddenly they're being dragged in.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it would if I chose to, I could play it on PlayStation instead of Xbox. I'm not going to because I only want to pay for one online multiplayer subscription. Thank you very much. I'm cheap like that, but it's one of those things you say you don't play COD, and it annoys you, but you don't play COD. But it's like at least you'd say something about it because first it's the games you don't play. And then this stuff always comes to the games you do play. Because if this doesn't dent COD's sales figures, if this increases, if more people year on year buy COD on PS4 than they did with Black Ops last year, then it will be seen as a success and it will be rolled out across multiple games, starting with Activision Blizzard's output. And something tells me you have a stake in Activision Blizzard's output a little bit more than just Call of Duty. Given that Overwatch 2 is apparently going to be a thing. But, yeah.
I've never played that much Overwatch, let alone the idea of getting a new version of it. We'll have to see what happened.
I'm going to try and dive back in when the new big patch comes out. Because it's in a test realm at the minute. They've changed half of the heroes. Not change, just buffs and nerfs and stuff, but this is what I've needed. Somebody who doesn't want to play a fucking Sigma. But anyway, yeah. So this is the thing. Compounding this, and you need to take this next one with a grain of salt, because this is very much the rumor mill. But part 2 of this story is Call of Duty Modern Warfare's loot boxes will apparently include weapons and not just cosmetics. This is from Alex Avard over at Games Radar, who writes, new second-hand reports from YouTuber The Gaming Revolution has stated that Modern Warfare's supply drops, loot boxes, wouldn't be Freudian slip, loot boxes regulated, wouldn't be relegated to cosmetic items only, but includes game-affecting rewards, such as weapons that can be then used in multiplayer. While Activision or Infinity Ward are yet to confirm if supply drops will be in the game, the Gaming Revolution has formed with Call of Duty Modern Warfare leaks. In the past, they've correctly revealed info about the gunsmithing system in multiplayer, as well as the compass bar replacing the minimap. This isn't the only piece of evidence that's pointing towards Call of Duty Modern Warfare loot boxes being a thing. During the first weekend of the Modern Warfare beta, one player saw a message in the unlocked section of the after action report that reads, loot box common supply drop. Weapons in loot boxes. I mean, loot boxes are going to be a thing in Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
This is the publisher who tried to create an authentic World War II experience and had fucking loot boxes falling from the sky on Normandy Beach. Of course loot boxes are going to be a thing. If anyone's surprised by that, I mean, they might not put them in at launch, because they're quite sneaky like that. They usually add them in a little bit later. I mean, the thing that is noteworthy is the weapons being in them. Like, if you're having to suddenly like have weapons in loot boxes, I mean that takes it to a whole other level. It's an interesting play from Activision Blizzard purely on the fact that loot boxes are under more scrutiny than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Doubling down on it in this way seems interesting, like an interesting move. But do you have any thoughts on this part of the story?
It doesn't surprise me in the least. As you said, loot boxes are a thing. There is that whole matchmaking like engine thing with like
I forgot about yes. What was it called? The microtransaction engine.
yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I'm having such like bad flashbacks right now. That was some fucking horseshit. Like that shit. Like I like to think I'm pretty desensitized to the shit that the games industry pulls, and that shit sent shivers down my spine when we talked about that thing. Oh man. Like I hope they don't put like game altering items in loot boxes. Like, especially if you can purchase them with real world money, because all it's going to do is it's going to exacerbate the problem that already exists. Because now people won't just be buying cosmetics; they'll be buying things that could actually or they'll be buying for the chance to actually get things that will make a difference to the game, which is going to entice more people to spend more money that they don't have.
Yeah.
And fuck that. But Keith, guess what happened next?
There's more.
Part 3. It's not often you get a part 3. Call of Duty Modern Warfare dev asks angry fans to remember there's a team of human beings at Infinity Ward. This is from Emma Kent over at Eurogamer. Yeah, it's basically, we've done this before. We've done this dance before. Basically what happened was, a couple of things that we've just talked about came out about Modern Warfare. They're not very popular. People like me and yourself have just had a really rational discussion about these issues where we haven't. I feel like we haven't crossed any lines. Unfortunately, there were plenty of people on the internet who crossed many lines. And the developers had to jump onto Reddit and just be like, "Whoa, hang on, like, let's stop with the name calling and the insults." And the death threats and the harassment and all the same stuff we see on repeat over and over again in the games industry. Keith, I said my piece about these people last week. Why don't you say something this week so I'm not just repeating myself?
There's varying degrees of it. Yes, stand up and be counted if you disagree with something that they're doing, like limiting the game mode to a console exclusive. And yeah, they're saying it's a timed exclusive, but given that their market ploy is to get people to stop playing their game after 1 year and play like an entirely brand new game because they have that yearly output, it's not really timed exclusive. It's basically doing a console exclusivity for an entire game mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, yeah, make yourself known on Twitter about how bad you think it is. Retweet and share and not like, but put videos out there saying that you're not on board with this. But stop short of actually, verbally attacking the people who are making the game.
Yeah. For no other reason than the chances are that they had nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah, it's like the person who spent like 8 hours a day for the last, 2 years making sure that when you zoom down the sights, it's a fluid transition, has no say in if like a certain game mode is a console exclusive. The people making that game mode have no say in if it's console exclusive. That's done by people way above their head. Just as a sidebar, I'm partially interested in knowing how much Sony are paying for this timed exclusive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is he going to drive sales that much? Sorry.
Yeah, it's like attacking the developers and stuff. Like posting nasty messages referencing them. Yeah. None of it's not worth it. I mean, even if like nothing comes back on you from like like no one like makes any reference to to you doing it, and you don't suffer any negative repercussions for posting horrible stuff or like emailing horrible stuff, then it's still not worth your time to get that invested in it to do that. And it's certainly not great for the people at the other end, the people who are getting verbally abused. And I'm saying verbally, and I'm trying to think of another word for it when it's like it's not actually verbal. It's like emails. Yeah, they're getting harassed, and it's like not their fault. I mean, sure, if you don't like what they're doing, tag the developer, like add in the developer studio official account, and say, "Hey, I'm not on board with this."
Or the publisher.
Yeah. Or
and
like
again, not individuals, the companies themselves.
But not individuals. It's like there will be community managers and stuff who look at all that stuff, and it's going to be a really bad day for them. But don't call out like individual developers. Don't email them a load of hate. Certainly don't threaten anyone's life. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth anyone's mental health. Yours or theirs.
Boom. This is why I like having you around. Shall we move on?
Indeed.
Number 4. Developers raise alarm over their cut of Google Play Pass's subscription money. This is from Matt Kim over at IGN, who writes, Google announced the Google Play Pass last week, a new subscription service for Android users, but an FAQ explainer on how royalties for developers work has some industry professionals worried about game sales moving towards a Spotify model, a model that has been heavily criticized in the past. Google Play Pass is a subscription service where for $4.99 a month, subscribers can have access to a library of games and apps without ads and in-app purchases. This subscription service is similar to the ones offered by Apple and Xbox. However, there is language in the Google Play Pass developer FAQ that causes some alarm in the game development community. According to Google, developers earn a royalty that incorporates time subscribers spend in their app and captures how users value all types of content. Google says that this royalty model isn't set in stone and that it's continuously refining the model to make sure it fairly rewards titles that bring the highest user value. But game developers say this resembles the way streaming services like Spotify pay its artists. I copy-pasted this verbatim, and I'm sure there's a word missing in the next paragraph. So it's going to sound a bit weird, but I don't know. That it seemingly rewards artists and developers for creating games that can hold on to a person's interest longer than its competitors. This gives games with an emphasis on replayability an advantage over shorter game experiences. Google Play Pass's model also differs from video game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, which, according to Nico Partners senior analyst Daniel Ahmad, pays developers upfront for their games plus royalties. And then we've got 3 quotes from 3 different developers. The first one's from Will O'Neill, who said, "Think about it like this. If it took you 3 hours to beat the untitled Goose Game, that probably would have translated into a payment of a few nickels rather than the $20 or so you paid for it. Indie game developers are not indie musicians. We don't tour. We can't flip out singles quickly to take a blind shot at some godlike curator at a streaming service. Nobody likes photos of us. This is not a future that finds an equilibrium." The second quote is from Rami Ishmael, who said, "I mean, this is honestly a terrifying continuation of the model that has shaped games into mostly roguelites and multiplayer games. If engagement becomes money, then grinding, addictive loops and infinite gameplay becomes the best way to earn money. If developers get paid for engagement, the only model that makes sense is to maximize the time people spend in the game or the number of times people have to check the game artificially if necessary." And then the final one is from someone who is coming up on a nearly weekly basis on the Words About Gamescast, from Mike Rose. He seems to be talking about everything these days. Who said, "I knew this was going to happen because even back then I'd already been approached by multiple platforms all saying they would pay per how many hours your game was played versus every other game on their platform. Give it another couple of years and we're going to be drowning in these services, and it's going to force developers to build games with how do I make money in mind. Short narrative games will be forced out. We'll be drowned in a sea of Fortnites and pachinko machines. I know I must bore a whole lot of people with this stuff, but God, we're just so on the cusp of a crash and I feel like barely anyone realizes it." Thoughts?
Mike Ross laying down some science.
It's for science.
It's not the first person. I mean, there was a writer, I'm trying to remember what her name was. who wrote about how the fact that like the games were getting too long. We covered it ages ago on the podcast. It was like because it was like we want like people to spend more like for longer games and live service games as opposed to the narrative stories that we've grown up with.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, the thing that Rami Ishmael said about like developers getting paid for engagement, the only model that makes sense is to maximize the time people spend in games. I mean, we're already not necessarily there, but we're on that road. Like, that's the path that we're walking.
The bit I like was the artificial checking the game. Because this holds back the whole Spotify thing where some artists put up things where it was like 30 seconds because they only had to play the 30 you had to play more than 30 seconds of the song for the artist to get paid for that song. They're also putting up like loopings of albums with total silence. So you could just have them on the background and play them like thousands of times. And the artist would get money equal to like a normal signal.
Yeah. Like,
It's
that's.
just like, yeah, Spotify came down hard on that, and it kind of showed you what the payment scheme was like.
Yeah, I mean, like, this isn't a payment scheme I want anywhere near video games. Like, because, like, Will O'Neill, was it Will O'Neill? Was that his name? Like, he said it, like, the difference between an artist on Spotify and a game developer on Google Play Pass, like, is that, like, indie developers aren't going to do a worldwide tour and, like, get loads of ticket sales or, like, sell merch or sell t-shirts, sell CDs, sell albums, sell singles. Like, they've got their game. Like, that's what they sell. And if they, like, Untitled Goose Game is a brilliant example because it's the game everyone's talking about at the moment on Twitter. It's the game everyone's playing, but it is a game most people are only going to be playing for like 3 hours. Like,
Yeah.
so in terms of like a subscription, like a payment model of like Google Play Pass, like it's worthless to the developer. Like, the developer's not going to make nearly enough money for it to sustain themselves on that model. Like, whereas like a game which is like endless, like Anthem. Like, Anthem's a great example. I know it's not going to end up on Google Play, like, but
Yeah.
like, Anthem's a great example because that game was specifically designed to waste your time. Like, they admitted it. Like, there was a quest line in the middle of the game that was designed specifically to pad the game running time out. Like, and like, that's what a lot of developers will have to do to get paid. Like, you have to make a game that people will play endlessly. Like, even if they like, yeah, like, so so games like Untitled Goose Game in a future where this is like the primary way that like people engage with games, like, those games aren't going to be around. Like, because nobody's going to be able to afford to make them. Like, it's a fucking terrifying prospect. Like, if like games moved into this kind of service like model, like, I'd hope they don't, because I like short games. Like, I respect my time. Like, as much as I'm liking digging into Code Vein, like we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, like, I love the fact that I sat down and played Sayonara Wild Hearts, and it took me like an hour and a half, and I was done. Like, and I was like,
Sounds like that Far Alone sales game I played this year.
yeah, like, I love the fact that I can sit down and knock out Untitled Goose Game in like 2 sittings, and be like, that was fun. I had fun playing that game,
Mm-hmm.
and now I can move on. like,
Now I can move on with my life.
there's space for endless games. Like, I played Dauntless, a shitload of Dauntless, and a shitload of the Division 2, like, earlier this year when they came out. And I enjoyed the hell out of them. But, like, that's interspersed in between games like Judgment and Resident Evil 2 and Control, and games that are like finite set experiences. So I'm glad Xbox is doing taking a different approach to Game Pass, and I hope they don't adopt a Spotify like model for like paying developers. Because that would be bad if they did that. Like, I want like, call me a shill. I want game developers to get paid so they can keep making games. Crazy. Oh man. How do you feel about Mike Rose's last statement about the crash, about another crash? Do you think another crash is coming? Bear in mind this has happened once before, and I can educate you on the history of it. If
You would have to. I'm not where. When people say crash, all I can think of is financial crash.
well, it kind of is. It was a market crash. So what happened in the 80s was, this is gonna sound familiar. What happened in the 80s was, there was a game like the video game industry crashed, because the market was flooded with cheap subpar games, like a lot, basically like too many games, like too many games that weren't very good, like low quality games. And the problem was that nobody could make any money, so the market crashed because nobody was making any money. The only reason the games industry exists as it does today is because of Nintendo. You know that little Nintendo seal of approval they've got on their boxes? Yeah, Nintendo basically implemented that in the 80s, as a way to say, like, this is a seal of quality. Like, they actually did that for I don't think it was the NES, I think it was the console before it, whose name always escapes me. It might have been the NES. Like, it was in the 80s. I wasn't born yet. You'll have to forgive me. It was when
No, you've read too many books about this.
I have. It was when they buried all the ET cartridges in the landfill.
I knew that was coming somewhere.
So that was part of the thing, the crash. It was like they couldn't sell all the cartridges, so they just put them in a landfill. Like that was the crash of the 80 whatever, like the 80s. And like it's a bigger industry now. It's the biggest entertainment industry on the planet, which it wasn't in that time period. So, but like, how do you feel about like if developers are like if this becomes the norm and how developers get paid? Yeah, there probably will be a crash, because I feel like if everybody's just trying to make Fortnite or Destiny, like people are gonna switch off from games. Like, am I wrong? Like, is that gonna turn people away? Like, not overnight.
I don't see like a gaming crash happening in the same way it did in the 80s.
Yeah.
What I would say is just a load of game developers, and maybe some publishers just go under really quickly. And to be honest, when we do this podcast, there have been periods like over the last couple of years where it's just like we just keep hearing about games developers going under. Like it'll be like a couple of weeks we'll just hear about, it just seems like last week we were talking about whatever going under, and then whatever going under, or how many people are being fired from this company. And I think the next crash is going to look like that, and then you'll just have these big sort of AAA companies who are producing games, and they're all going to be very similar games, and there's going to be very much a tightening of the belt, because it's just kind of painted themselves into a corner.
Well, I think AAA publishers have painted themselves into a corner, because like AAA publishers work on the whole, you have to make more money this year than you did last year, regardless of how you do it. And AAA publishers have been kind of, I don't want to say blessed, because that's definitely like cursed. Like it's a curse for everybody else who like plays games and buys games. But like in terms of like the series of initiatives that they've hit on, which allows them to make money, like from like starting with DLC to microtransactions to loot boxes, like that's how they've increased their profits like year on year on year. That's why we're still talking about like Activision Blizzard and EA posting like record financial results, because loot boxes are essentially infinite money. Like there's no cap on how much money you can make like from loot boxes, right? Like if you were going to buy a microtransaction in a game, like you can only really buy that once. Yeah. But if with a loot box, you can buy that an infinite number of times, theoretically speaking. You're probably not, if you're someone who buys loot boxes, you're probably not just going to buy one. Like, but you get to the point where it's like, okay, so we've reached, and I know we're talking about AAA publishers now, but you get to the point where they've reached a point where they've come up with a product that essentially allows people to buy it as many times as they want. Cool. What the hell do you do next? How do you step up from that? From a purely money making perspective, there's nowhere to go from we've created a product that people can buy as many times as they want without limits. There's nowhere for them to go next. So yeah, from that perspective, I see what you mean about AAA publishers. They're gonna very quickly they're gonna stop posting record financial results.
Yeah.
In the next few years, they might be buffered by the new console generation. If they can get games out for the new consoles, maybe that may protect them. But yeah, eventually it's gonna be we've hit the ceiling of what we can do. And that will be a bloodbath, because if Activision Blizzard is laying off 800 people when they're posting record profits,
yeah,
imagine what they're going to do when their year-on-year numbers go down.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine it'd be brown trousers time if their products were on the nose.
If it was just par.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because didn't they have to hire some of the people they fired back?
Yeah. Well, they had to hire for the positions because they fired a bunch of people, and then realized that the positions that they filled, because they tried to do it in a way where it was we didn't fire any game developers. And real talk for a second, if you work for a game publisher in any capacity, you are someone who makes games possible. End of story. Even if you work in the legal department, even if you work in the fucking mail room, you're making a game possible. But anyway, that's a tangent. They realized that they actually needed some of those people, because it turns out game developers aren't the only people who make games possible. Crazily enough. So yeah, they had to hire some of the positions back. There was a couple of stories like that. There was I'm sure Blizzard had to do that as well.
Yeah, it was community
managers.
Yeah, because what you haven't seen is somewhere in this conversation, my mind trip was Warcraft 3 Reforged. Haven't seen anything about that since last year when they announced it. So I went on little skiz back through Twitter feeds and stuff, and it all these stories started coming back to me. It's I seem to remember them firing a load of community managers and stuff.
Community managers are really important. Everybody who works at a publisher is generally important in some way. When's BlizzCon? It's not long though, right?
November 1st.
Okay, we'll have to do something for that. Because Warcraft is going to happen. Something Overwatch related is going to happen. And Diablo 4 is probably going to happen. So
yeah.
Should we want our final story? Be a short one.
Yeah.
Number 5. Rare glimpse behind the game industry curtain reveals Epic paid £8.3 million for Control. I'm not going to read the story.
Yeah.
It's in the headline. As it turns out, we were talking about this last week.
Yeah.
I'm sure the phrase, I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm sure the phrase, well, we'll never know we'll never know how much Epic paid for Control. And then it's I read this the next day. I woke up the next morning after we'd done the podcast and I was apparently we will.
Yeah.
There was a whole thing, some financial reports and stuff. That's how we know. But basically, It's not alleged. We know they paid £8.3 million for Control exclusivity. And the question I want to ask here is, because I don't really have context, when a number gets as big as 8.3 million, that's, I have no context for that. That is an unimaginable amount of money to me. Is that a lot for Control to be exclusive on Epic Game Store for a year?
For it to be a PC exclusive for a year, and let's face it, we know what the Control's what they call it, roadmap is. So by the time Control comes to Steam, that roadmap will be complete. Good chance that anyone who's really wants to get Control will already have bought it. Given how good Control was, I can totally see it being, like it's great that they bought Control because that's an amazing game. It's hopefully a lot more people buying it.
Yeah, hopefully.
When it's on like the Epic Store. But as for how much like money wise that is, like I don't know. I have no idea. This is the same thing. It's like I have no idea what. I discussed it when we went on about the individual mode in Call of Duty. It would be interesting to know how much they paid for it because then we could start getting like an idea about what's being thrown around to get these exclusivities.
Yeah, because we never normally know, right? We never normally learn how much something costs, except a lot. Like everything costs a lot. Like £8.3 million to have like, are Epic ever gonna make money on that? They take what is it? They take 12% off of every sale. Like, and if Control costs $49.99, like just discounting, like the like sales and stuff. So like when it's on sale, which it will eventually be on sale at some point between now and when it comes out on Steam. Like, I mean, that has to sell a lot of copies on the Epic Games Store, specifically on the Epic Games Store. Like, we didn't even see a chart in the MPD.
Yeah, well, I think it was below 20, wasn't it?
Yeah, like it was below 20th place. Like, it might have been down. Like, it could have outsold Man and Badan because Man and Badan was like half the price of Control, but it's interesting. I wish we had more like different like ideas of like how much exclusivity costs for different things, so we can sort of figure out if this was a good deal for Epic Games or not. Because I
it would have to have sold if Control was £50 a shot on the Epic Games Store. It would be 160,000 copies.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They probably did then. Fair enough.
I put 6 million in and then divided it, and that would mean that they would have broke. Wait, no. Does that mean they've broken even? That just means that amount of money's gone back because they've still got to give a cut that with like producers.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, of the £50 that Control costs, 12% of that goes to Epic Games. Like, that's the revenue share cut. Like, the other 88% goes to 505, goes to Remedy. It's like split in a bunch of different ways, I'm sure, but like 12% of that money goes to Epic Games. So whatever 12% of 60 quid is, like 10% of 60 quid is 6. So if we just round
we are not sitting here doing the math.
If we just round it up and say it's 7 to make it like easy, to make it easier, then all you have to do is open my figure out where my calculator is, divide
my calculator open.
Divide 8.3 million by 7. It needs to have sold 1.185 million copies on PC at full price before Epic Games starts making their money back. Roughly. That number's probably closer to 1.2 million. So let's just say 1.2 million. It needs to sell 1.2 million copies on PC on the Epic Games Store. And that does sound like a lot. Because again, Xbox and PS4 don't count. So But then that must be their sales projection, right? Because that's what Epic Games pays developers. How much do you think you were gonna sell?
I mean,
who knows? No one knows.
Right.
Remedy.
Well, yeah.
505 Epic Games. Remedy. They know. Yeah. One day maybe we'll know. Keith, let's talk while we're talking about game sales. What can people buy that's brand new coming out of this week?
This week? Well then, we've got 3 big launch days this week, which are all really at the front of the week.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
So on the 1st of October, we have a fair few games. We have Call of Duty on the mobile, 80 Days on Switch, What the Golf on PC, Destiny's 2 expansions of Destiny 2, Shadowkeeper on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. Then they've got the New Light, which is on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Shadowkeep's the expansion. New Light is the free-to-play version.
Right. You know a girl who chants love at the bound of the world. PC, PS4, and Switch. And then on the 2nd of October, we have Warsaw on PC. Paranoia, Happiness is Mandatory on PC. The Wild 8 official launch, PC. Neocab. The Wild 8, Paranoia, Happiness, and Neocab on the PC and Switch all come out on the 3rd of October. And then on the 4th of October, we have Ghost Recon Breakpoint on the PC, PS4, and Xbox One. And Ghostbusters, the video game, remastered on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch.
You know a girl who chants love in the bound of this world. I know nothing about this game. I saw the title in the list and I was like, I'm going to leave that in because I know Keith has to read these out. I don't know what it is. But, yeah.
Dangerous.
Nothing. Yeah, there's like Ghost Recon. Yay, I'm gonna have to play Ghost Recon for a video. The last one was so boring. Oh man, open worlds, man. Like I did a video about them like last week. It's just like, I think he searched it because he's highlighted it in the Google Doc and can see it, and I've just seen his face.
This is a really interesting game that you've put on there. You know, a girl who chants love at the bounds of the world is a visual novel adventure game developed by Elf Corporation, originally released in 1996, and then later ported to the Sega Saturn and Windows platform without the sexual content of the original.
Oh, it's one of those kind of games.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
In 2017, development was published for the PlayStation Vita, PlayStation 4, and will be coming to PlayStation 4 and Windows in 2019. Yeah, that's what it's happening. There was an anime of it by Funimation, apparently.
Of course there was. Yeah.
But yeah, Amy should have looked that one up, I feel.
Nah, too lazy. I'm playing one of the games on this list at the moment. I'm embargoed at the moment, though. So, all I'll say is driving a cab is interesting.
There's a lot of cab games this year.
Yes, there's one on this list.
Still that niche in the human psyche.
Yeah, totally trying to be subtle about it. I was too subtle. That's gonna do it for episode 177 of the Words About Gamescast. We did another podcast. We'll do another one next week. And until the heat death of the universe, or until the Brexit just sinks the country, which probably isn't that far away. Hopefully we'll make it to 200. It'd be nice to make it to 200, but who knows these days. Say bye, Keith.
Bye-bye.